Hi and welcome back to my little corner of the internet. Today we're doing something completely different. I feel like I say that every time, but this time we're going to assemble a knitted sweater. This is the sweater I made. Well, my third attempt. This is the one. So first we're going to assemble the body, where I'm going to be sewing from the edge up to under the arm. Here I'm measuring out where that's going to be, using my little nip naps because that's easier than using needles. I'm just using a backstitch, big backstitch with a big needle and some cotton yarn. That's what this sweater is made of. It's cotton. And this is my third attempt at making this sweater. This time I made it more modern, tried to make it bigger so it would fit over a pair of jeans, not just a skirt. One side done. And here you can see the back stitches. I should have saved some of my colored yarn, but I forgot, and now I'm just using this blue one. Onto the other side. Finish that, and now I'm going to assemble the shoulders, where I'm going to overlap where the French stitches are. In theory you are supposed to have buttons and buttonholes in this one, but I always, a couple of times I have made this one, I always ended up just sewing those on instead of putting in buttons, because I always get the head hole or the collar bit so big that I can just put my head through, even though I put the buttons and buttonholes in. Shoulders assembled. Now I'm going to overlap where the fancy stitches are. I'm going to be sewing that on with the back stitch as well. But first I'm going to measure out, putting in my knitting needles, just to make sure that, well, trying to make sure that I get the fit right. But if you have ever made this sweater, then please let me know how you get the neck part, the collar part of this sweater not too big, or not make it too big. How many stitches do you take in on the shoulders to make the neck part fit better? Because I haven't figured that out just yet. I hope I will at some point, but I'm kind of tired of making this sweater because it's the third one, and that's also why I made it in the rainbow cotton yarn, because it had to be a fun project for me to finish it. Now I'm going to be sewing the outside part, or the right side, with the running stitch right to the edge to make it as small and not seen as possible. Just eyeballing it where it's supposed to go, going in between the stitches so you can see it in the knitting. Well, so you can see it in theory in the knitting. If I had the same colored yarn, you wouldn't have, but yeah, who's looking that closely? On the inside of the sweater, I'm just going to whip stitch that edge on again, to make it not visible, or trying to make it not visible on the right side of the sweater. Just loosely whip stitching that in. All done. As you can see here, the right side and the wrong side. It looks okay, I think. And here it is, all done, both sides. It's all fluffy. Now I'm going to be putting in the sleeves. But first I have to sew a bit of the sleeve before I make the box pleats. What I'm going to be doing first. Here I'm just playing around because it says in the description that I have to make 4 pleats, but that was way too much for my little arm, so I only think I made 2 of 4 total, 1 on each side of the box pleat. But this is what you do with the sleeves. You sew it the halfway up to where your elbow would be, beside these little lovely stitches that you made, where you took in and took out. Well, in this case you just took in for the bottom part of the sleeve. Almost there. Here it is. So now I'm going to make those little pleats. I made way too much here, way too many here. I ended up taking 1 off on each side. And then I just whip stitched the pleats together before putting it on the sweater. Try eyeballing it to see where it would fit most nicely on top of the shoulder before whip stitching that in. Or did I back stitch it? I back stitched it. And here I'm just wiggling the needle through to make sure I don't catch the yarn too bad between all the little stitches and rows. And I do this all the way over on both sleeves. And this is how it turned out. A little row of box pleats. And here it is, all sewn together. Well, in theory it's done now. The sweater is almost done. Look at all those lovely colors. The little rainbow squishy sweater. And here it is on. And as you can see, it's way too, what I think it's way too loose and bouncy somehow. Because the yarn is just, it feels like one big slinky. I felt like it was bouncing on me when I moved around. But that was kind of a weird feeling. And the sleeves just didn't sit right. They were a bit too tight, but again a bit too loose, and it kept all on falling off my shoulder. Yeah, so it's done in theory. But this was the second one that I made in some other yarn. This is acrylic yarn. It's the same pattern, almost the same stitches, just different in length, and this just fits so much better. So what's the deal? I think it's the yarn, to be honest. And here I tried to turn it around so you can see the back as the front, and here I'm just totally over it because it's so fluffy, it's so big, and it just keeps on falling off my shoulders. So what I did to fix that is I crocheted all around the collar bit at the bottom, so it wouldn't be so too flexible, because it just keeps on falling off my shoulders. And after wearing it a couple of times and washing it, it still does. It's less slinky-esque, but it's still very fluffy. As you can see here, it's a lot better. But this sweater was an adventure. It went from being the most awesome project ever to me wanting to throw it out the window. So yeah, knitting sweaters. I do that too. Who knew? But here, as you can see, I fixed the problem. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!